what a chameleon is a woman running game. So if you can't see game from a mile away, then you will get hooked on a chameleon or someone that's pandering to you. But they have always said if you listen to a woman long enough, she'll tell on herself. All you gotta do is listen. Just listen. What has she been saying? Has she said something that now it doesn't look correct? She said something, then last week she said something completely different. Because it's easy. Everything is recorded. People still tell me about videos I did a year ago. And I'm like, I said that, but it's been always consistent.
All right. So there are two things there are two things she said in this video, right? That one I agree with and one I disagree with. Okay, they actually for example, the topic of this video that a chameleon PICKME is running games, I disagree with that, right? But it also depends on what you mean by game. It's like, what does she mean by game, right? They have an agenda. Oh, is that really an agenda, right? See, it goes back to intentions. Are they intentionally doing this? Is this a deliberate behavior, or it's just a behavior? It's a behavior nonetheless. Okay, it's a type of character, right? But is it deliberate? Is it intentional? See, when you take these things as intentional, the way you're going to react to them is going to be wrong. Okay, it's not going to be the most beneficial because you will feel attacked. And the natural thing you do when you feel attacked is that you defend yourself. Defense, on the other hand, feels like offense. And then you find yourself in a war zone, you find yourself in a conflict, right? And then usually if you find yourself in this situation, you usually lack the skill set to resolve conflict as well. And this is why it's a vicious cycle. This is why you go in circle with a person you love, and then it's just, you find yourself in a very, very bad place. And you are a good person, but you're seeing the other person as a bad person. But the other person actually sees themselves as a good person. There's a highly likelihood, from what I know, there's a high likelihood that they are actually a good person and they just feel attacked as well. And that's why we need conflict resolution as a skill set in romantic relationships. For the most part, I'm talking about romantic relationships. Everyone else is capping, right? Everyone wants to act like they're talking about the community. It's how we build our communities. It's all bullshit. It's all personal and selfish. Okay, at least that's the lowest level where all of this starts from. If you don't know how to manage the personal relationships in your life, the community is always going to be in chaos, at least from your standpoint. Okay, because again, you project the way you see it is how you see it. So I agree that we're not listening enough, because if you listen, and these are sizable books, they're minimum 200 pages. You can download them absolutely for free by simply going to, for example, this one, you just go to getmymarriageback.com, smartrealestatewholesaling.com, realestatemoneysecrets.com. So yes, I am a 3-times author. Those books are out there for your consumption, and they are also available everywhere on Amazon, anywhere that you pick up books. So in case you prefer a physical book like that, long enough, women will tell you what the real deal is. But then, do you have the skill set to listen? Does listening to you mean you're quiet? If listening to me means you're quiet, you got it wrong. Listening doesn't mean you're quiet. Listening means you're actively listening to what they're saying, not just what they're saying, the words, but what is going on behind the scenes. Reading minds. Yes. Some people say, do I have to learn how to read minds? Yes, especially if you're a man. To a certain extent, yes, you have to learn how to listen behind the scenes of what they're saying. Where are they coming from? They said something that's so offensive, but where could they be coming from? If you're not patient enough to hear this, if you're busy trying to hold accountable with that without paying attention to where they're coming from, you're going to get it wrong, right? The first person to hold accountable is you. Back at you. Hold yourself accountable. Are you able to listen to what people are saying and where they're coming from. What's going on behind the scenes? Are you patient enough to do that? We're not talking about physical altercations. We're talking about emotions. We're talking about how it makes you feel when they said what they said, how it made them feel when they said when you said what you said. That's what we're talking about. For as long as we're talking about that, all is fair because there's no physical altercation. Everything in love and war, all is fair. So I don't think Charmeleon PICKMEs are running game. I think they're also looking for some sort of answers. They're looking to solve a problem, and then they hear a bunch of men talking about we want women to be logical. They don't say it exactly like that, but then they say like that's what they, and then women try to be logical, and then sexual polarity disappears because you're actively trying to make the woman masculine. It disappears, and then you start to ask her she's a chameleon because eventually with time, like she said, the true colors show. She will push back at certain things, especially if you find yourself in a romantic relationship with her. She's going to show you that she's a woman. It's only a matter of time. And if you're not listening, then you say, I knew it, she's a chameleon. No, she wasn't a chameleon. You're not listening. See, I kind of agree. I disagree. I agree with the part that she's deliberately running games. I don't think so. I think it's a natural thing to do if you're looking for answers and men tell you one thing and then you act it and then it backfires. I think the worst thing a man could do is try to ask women to be logical. How do we say that? We usually say we need them to be adult. You're asking women to be logical. You're effectively asking women to be masculine instead of you learning the skill set of how to influence, learning the skills of learning how to recognize the feminine energy when it's resting in itself. It's chaotic, beautiful chaos. But if you don't know how to do that and you're asking her to be logical, she's gonna feel not safe. Masculine is gonna come out. Am I blaming you for her masculine coming out? See, that's your feminine energy interpreting it that way. I am showing you your leverage point when you're engaged in a romantic context with a woman. That's what I'm showing you, right? It's not a matter of who's at fault, who's to blame. It's not about condemnation, blame, condemnation, judgment, blame, right and wrong. False, all irrelevant. Because again, when emotions are involved, you can always remove yourself. If you stay in it, all is fair. If all is fair, all right? So I agree and I disagree, but I get where she's coming from, and she's absolutely correct that if you're listening long enough, you will find the real truth.